Blue skies means fun days. Helping skydivers with tips and techniques about safety, training and fun jumping from those who know.
So visualization is important because, especially in the sport of skydiving, we have, when we go up and jump, we have 1 minute of free fall. And usually we're jumping with other people and you're trying to, you have a plan, usually on the ground, that usually you have a plan. And so you have 1 minute to do this plan, and if you go up there and you don't remember what the jump is, once you're in free fall or there's a lot of confusion, it just doesn't, it's not as fun, it doesn't go as well. We should visualize because it really upgrades our performance. Whether you're doing a competition jump or you want to just have a really fun jump, visualizing really brings a level up because, especially in the sky, you can't really communicate too well if people are confused. So if everybody in the group, whether you're doing a 2-way group, a 4-way group, a 100-way group, if everybody in the group really thinks about the jump and prepares it mentally first well, it can really change the jump completely. And each time you go up and do another jump, you can keep bringing the level up. And your visualization gets better and better the more you practice it. Because basically when you visualize, it's like you're running that little movie in your mind, and then things start to become clearer and clearer the more you do it. And the clearer you can get, then it becomes more realistic, and your body can't tell the difference between whether you actually did it or if, or not, so you're almost getting like free practice. So if you're going to do 100 jumps a year of training, you can actually get more training if you do it mentally, and you can get better as if you had done more than 100 jumps. I couldn't tell you what the number is, but it makes the jump funner if they're just fun jumps, or it makes, if you're a competitive team, your progress just goes up a lot more.
In competitive skydiving, or actually all skydiving, because we can't talk to each other, we have to visualize. And we can't, unless you're really good at hand signals and communicating like that, but mostly because we want to prepare the jump, get the final preparation of the jump so you understand all of the angles, but then it's just the memorization of which sequence follows the previous. And so when we talk about visualization, for me, and this is personally, and I've gone through a lot of different things, whether I'm using names for it or using letters and numbers. And so it doesn't matter what it is, but you have to make it as short as possible and without a lot of details. And so for me, usually what I'll do, if I learn the sequence, we'll lay it down on the creepers, we'll understand what all of the moves are. And then getting in my head, I have to get almost like a rhyme in my head, okay? So it's like, for me, and I keep it really simple. Like I learned a lot of rote memorization as a kid in school with music. Like I can still recite all 50 states of the United States in alphabetical order. And like all this stuff as kids, like we learned like Schoolhouse Rock, and it's like we learned like adverbs and verbs from music. And so why complicate it? If it worked really good as a kid, I'm going to try to do the exact same process as an adult. So for example, if the jump is A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, it's like A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E. And when I do that, I'm starting the process slowly. So like as I'm saying it in my head, I'm kind of visualizing, I'm like going through like seeing the A, seeing the B, the C, the D, and linking those movements together with that tempo. And so as you learn that, and it becomes really familiar, but we always start super calm, super calm. And then when you learn it at that speed, you can up that speed a little bit more until it just flows through your head. Now this is if you're on like a 20-minute call and you have to learn it quick, but you have the same process if you're in a competition, you have 5 hours between jumps. And so that little loop, like let's say we get done with the creeping and we're walking it, let's say we're gonna walk it every 30 minutes, even if I'm walking around the drop zone, having a conversation with people, in the back of my mind, it's that little song. It's almost like when you wake up in the morning and you hear, like the first song you hear, and you can't lose it. It's in your mind all day. And so to effectively keep that going, it's a constant loop.
And it's like, dancing too, like if people learning steps, and when we visualize, we think about it mentally, as if we're like in the jump, in the skydive, but also sometimes we look at it as if we're like the video person looking down, so we see things like that. Also, sometimes when I visualize, I move, it's almost like a little bit of dance, like I go here, then I go there, and I go this way, and then I go back to here, and it's a little bit like I get that muscle memory in my body. Or if I'm thinking about the exit, I'm thinking about how am I going to exit? Am I going to go this way, or am I going to go this way, or where am I going to look? So there's a lot of things you can put in there. And what happens too, it brings up your level of anticipation because you're mentally more sharp, and because you've already done it like 100 times in the airplane before you even do it once. Also, it's good to visualize your emergency procedures, because when something happens in the air, it happens very quickly, and you want it to be muscle memory. You don't want to have to think through so much. Hopefully you can just simplify it and make some good decisions and pull in handles in the right order if you've practiced that, visualize that.
When you find out what works for you, you have to rehearse it a lot, and you have to have a routine. And so it's like, you can't change your routine whether you're on a training day or if it's round one of competition. Because round one of competition, there's a lot of anxiety, there's that, you're in competition. And so I've really found to find a routine and work the same routine every time. But sometime in that airplane, there has to be a place in your visualization where a green light comes on in your mind. It's like, I have it. And if you don't have it, you have to keep working it, even until you're climbing outside of the plane. Like a lot of times, my teammates are they can see my lips moving. I'm singing that song to myself, just trying to make sure that I'm staying engaged with my prep.
When you visualize, when you develop a visualization plan, everybody's a little bit different, right? So I don't think there's if you were to ask a world championship team how they do it, there's definitely they do a plan together on the ground, but then in the airplane they might do their own thing, and everybody develops that plan. And so what I would recommend to people is start working a plan, and then you can fine tune it as you evolve.
The other thing is, we've talked about, when you find your routine, write it down. Because a lot of times, until you actually write something down, what your routine is, you think you know what your routine is, but if you actually take the time to write down that routine, keep it in your notes, you have an opportunity to re-look at it again if it's been a while since you did some training.
For me, I like to, I'll close my eyes and I'd like to see the jump from my perspective. And then I also like to see it from the video guy's perspective. And then I sometimes like to feel the move, where I'm going. Sometimes it's a grip sequence. Sometimes it's where I'm looking as I do an exit, where am I going to look? How, what is it going to feel like? So I try to add those things in. And I feel like the more, you do those different elements, and it starts to feel more realistic and more automatic when you do it. Because, in skydiving, things happen quick. That exit, you get in the door and, you feel like you're a little bit in a hurry. So you want to have all those little details thought through instead of getting in there and trying to figure it out at that point. Or when you leave the plane and you're starting to do these moves, it's good to already have it kind of pretty cemented in your mind. Things are going to happen in the air and things are going to change, but if you have it good in your mind, your anticipation level will be higher. The skills you do have will be upgraded as opposed to being downgraded when you're lost. You see that a lot with people, with young jumpers. They're lost for a minute and they're just kind of moving around, and suddenly when they know where to go, they move really nice and really fast. And so when you know where you're going, you tend to move with more confidence, right? So I think for young jumpers or for anybody, it's just start working a plan, and then you can fine tune it as you go. But for me, I like to see it from my point of view. I like to see it from the cameraman's point of view, and I also like to feel it a little bit in my body. Mm-hmm.
We're talking about if you're a beginner jumper or an experienced jumper, because there's two kinds of visualizations. The more that you're going through it in your mind and you're actually going through the movements, like a little head turn would be at like a 360, or if I'm moving this way at 360 to the left, the grip sequencing, like even the keys, things like that. I think the more information you have, you're going to be able to add that into it. But like sometimes for me, if it's challenging for me, if it's a challenging sequence, sometimes I really have to go through the movements just to get my process going. But the more I have that flow, then a lot of times it's just, for me, because I've have a lot of repetitions with it, so it's a little easier just to see it really calm and go through it in my mind. But like sometimes people just want to go make a fun jump, but I think if they're jumping, they're going to figure out that the one time they do visualize it and put 100% into it, they're going to notice significant differences.
For me, visualization it's like running a little movie in your mind of what you're going to do, what you're about to do, all the way from like when you're in the airplane and you're moving to the door, like where your feet are, where your hands are, seeing like your partners, your teammates.
Do I think of any other activities or sports that don't need visualization? No. I mean, I hear a lot of times about basketball players, they just imagine like taking the free throw shot, imagining that, it's like, I think the more that you can create it alive, because really, like, when you're dreaming, your brain doesn't know if it's real or not. Like you think it's real life, until you wake up, you're like, wow, it's like, it was so realistic. And so the more that you can replicate that, but I think sometimes it becomes very difficult when you're in a wind tunnel indoor competition versus an outdoor competition. And let me explain it this way, like when you're in an airplane, nobody's talking to you. Like it's loud, there's 23 people in a Twin Otter, and there's nobody like asking you questions about what the score of the basketball game was last night. Like people understand that you're focused. But when you're in the tunnel, there's all kinds of people looking at you. And it's like, sometimes I'm in there, I just can't get eye contact with anybody, because as soon as you look up, somebody's like, they're waving at you. It's almost like being in the Twin Otter and people like knocking on the window like, hey, have a good jump, have a good jump. So no, I can't think of any other sport that you would not be better if you didn't visualize.
For more tips and techniques, click subscribe.